And away we go. Thursday edition of the show. All across America, SportsMap Radio. Worldwide on the SportsMap Radio app. Boy, we got a lot to do over the next 3 hours. Keeping tabs on Thursday Night Football, which is way closer than it should be. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'm as high as anybody on the Cowboys, especially because of what I think they can do defensively when they're healthy and right. And you can give me all the different metrics and numbers that you want in terms of, this team has scored the most points. They're doing this offensively. They're doing that offensively. I don't want to sound like one of those Dak Prescott doubters, but I can understand when I continually watch this guy throw interception after interception and he's thrown more interceptions this season than anybody. And before you say, well, he's got the same number as Derek Carr. Well, Derek Carr has played more games than Dak Prescott. Dak's got 14 interceptions, and he's played less games. There's a problem here. There's a big problem here with him turning over the football. He's just too careless with the football. And, look, this is going to be a postseason that is largely predicated on Dak Prescott and what he does. And watching this game tonight, you have to have serious reservations. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's starting. He's the guy you're going to throw out there in the postseason as long as he's healthy. But you've got to have real reservations if you are Mike McCarthy. They're never going to state this stuff publicly. And they're going to say all the right things, like when he came out at halftime and said, well, we got to clean up some things and this and that. That's code for we have to stop turning over the football and giving it to the other team. That isn't very good. I mean, 17-6. This game should be a blowout. It should be a runaway. And this is why I was scared to take the Cowboys, given all those points. We'll come back, talk about the game some more. Just getting started on the cash-in on SportsMap Radio. So how are you, Charles? Just trying to make it work. What's your last name, by the way? Carter? Yeah. A specific sound effect? There's a sound effect, a cash register sound effect that he plays when I give a pick during a live betting pick. So there should be a wall that's got like my sounds and stuff on it. Also, tonight we're doing Paige's picks, so there should be a whole thing of NFL Films music, because when we do Paige's picks, there's an imaging thing that says, I say, it's time for Paige's picks, and then you play a thing that says, and now, Paige's picks. And then there's NFL music that plays, like a number of NFL music songs. Anybody tell you anything about that? Fuck. Yeah. Fucking Christ. Is Belmer or McDonald around at all? Yeah, of course not. ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, see if maybe he could help you find that stuff for the NFL for when we do Page's picks. So we don't do it until an hour and a half from now. So there's some time to find it. The cash register thing is only if I make a live pick. So just be paying attention because I could always make one. I just don't know when. "12 minutes past the hour. Good to have you with us. Final show of the week, by the way. Final show of the week. We are off tomorrow. Alternate programming will be on in our place. And then the next time we talk, it'll be 2023. Can you believe it? It's crazy. I mean, we've been on the air since September 5th, and the time has just flown by. Bill Bender will join us, Sporting News college football writer. He will join us coming up 28 minutes from now. And we'll get some thoughts with him on the big championship, the college football playoff games coming up this weekend. And I'm curious to get his thoughts on what we've seen throughout this college football bowl season, which is, I got to admit, there's been some pretty good games. And the only reason I'm paying attention, to be brutally honest, is because I'm in one of those college football bowl things where you got to go pick, every single college football bowl game. And I'm kind of in the mix. To be in the money. So it's given me a little more incentive to pay attention than I would typically. Usually I'm not getting into the Cheez-It Bowl, just not my thing. So Thursday night football, where are we at? 17-6, Cowboys on top of the Titans, and the Cowboys just scored a touchdown a few minutes ago as we were coming on the air to take that 17-6 lead. But, I mean, they're just not – they look like a team that's playing to the scoreboard. They look like a team that's playing down to the level of their competition. And – look, when you want to be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender, and nobody has been higher on the Cowboys than I have. Nobody. You've got to put out a better effort than this in prime time on Thursday Night Football. They're just not doing it. And Tennessee's driving right now with an opportunity to close this gap to either 17-9 or who knows, maybe 17-13. With Joshua Dobbs at quarterback, who is, on the practice squad. Nobody has any idea who he is. Journeyman, been around the league a long time. And I have to be honest, he's made some good throws in this game. If not for some drops by the Titans receiving corps, this game may be a hell of a lot closer. Crazy. We'll keep an eye on that. We have our live betting that we do every hour on the show. We'll talk about that a bit more coming up as well. But I think it's a good idea to kind of just focus on the non-betting aspect of Week 17 around the league. And anybody knows that we do a ton on the betting side. We'll do Page's picks later on in the show, all of that good stuff. But I thought it was a good idea to just sort of go through some of the bigger games this week and what it all means. And for a lot of people that aren't necessarily up to speed on where we are as far as the playoff picture is concerned, sort of weaving all of that in as well. First, let me give you the phone number, 1-800-224-2004. From anywhere in America throughout the show, you're welcome to call in. 800-224-2004. If you got a sports take, that's good. We're also taking New Year's resolutions. I gave mine last night on the show. Tonight's the last night we could do it. Last chance at New Year's resolutions on the show. Hopefully you're more resolved to listen to this show in 2023. Just saying. Where we are in the playoff picture right now. All right. Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, Chargers. They have all punched their ticket. There's still 2 playoff berths left. Jaguars and the Dolphins. The Jags get the Texans this week. You have to like their chances, but how do they deal with prosperity? And then there's the Dolphins, who are 8-7 on the season. And when you talk about, what's going on right now with this team, and obviously the Tua Tagovailoa concussion situation, obviously a lot of reason for concern. You know what's going on with the Titans right now. They're in a must-win. I mean, everybody forgets the Titans still, control their own destiny. They win out, and they're still going to the playoffs. And look, this is an audition for Joshua Dobbs tonight. This is an opportunity for him to potentially take the starting job from Malik Willis, who just hasn't been very good. He cannot get the team in the end zone, and you cannot win in this league if you can't put the ball in the end zone. Ask the Jets. Speaking of the Jets, they get the Seahawks this week. Very important matchup, obviously, with everything that's taken place with this team and Zach Wilson and Mike White and the quarterback situation. And look, you have to think that Zach Wilson at this point, the way this organization has tried to give him every opportunity to potentially succeed, every opportunity to run with this starting quarterback role. I mean, there isn't much more this organization could have done to help him succeed. And Mike White, has proven himself to be the best of the three quarterbacks on the Jets, and that includes Joe Flacco. And I'm a Joe Flacco guy. So it'll be Mike White getting the start against the Seahawks. Joe Flacco will be the backup in that game. So where we're at right now, is in terms of the AFC. Again, with the Patriots, the Jets, sort of in the mix here. The Titans, obviously still in the mix. The Steelers as well. Over on the NFC side, it is far more muddled, with the Eagles, Vikings, 49ers, and Cowboys having punched their tickets, but we still have very little clarity in the NFC South. Buccaneers and Panthers will go a long way in determining who wins that division, those two teams matching up this weekend. And if the Giants can take care of business this week against the struggling Colts, the Giants will find themselves in the postseason. That will leave one more wild card berth out there for Washington, Seattle, or Detroit, or even the Packers to potentially wind up getting. So that's where we're at in terms of the NFC side of things. Some of the games that sort of interest me the most this weekend, though, and obviously it's Tampa Bay and Carolina. And, not to get too odds heavy here, because we'll do that as we go through the show, and we'll do it with Paige's Picks coming up at the end of next hour. But the fact that Tampa Bay is just a 3-point favorite at home against Carolina tells you, A, the amount of respect for Carolina and the lack of respect for Tampa Bay, conversely. That Tom Brady is basically viewed against a Carolina team led by Sam Darnold as a pick'em game on a neutral field. Because that's what you get. 3 points is basically what you get from the odds makers for home field. By the way, Titans score a touchdown. This is crazy. I'm telling you, man. This is why you don't lay the 12 or 12 and a half, whatever the hell it was, on the road if you're a betting man. This is why you don't do it. You don't do it, especially with this Cowboys team that has played down to the level of its competition all season long. They barely beat the Texans, for Pete's sake. Cowboys 17, Titans 13, 2:04 to go in the third quarter. The betting line on it right now is Titans plus 7.5. And the Titans, let me tell you, you want value? And look, the way the Cowboys have played in this game, I'm all about value, and when it comes to live betting. The Titans at plus 630 as a home dog right now, with the momentum on their side in a 17-13 game, is not a terrible pick. Not saying go and put your whole bankroll on it. 25, 30 bucks? What is that? And if you win, it's, 120 bucks or 130 bucks. I can't do math that fast. But to me, that's a no-brainer right now. And the Titans plus 7.5 obviously goes along with it. The total is 42.5 on the game. And I tell you, call the credit in the world to Mike Vrabel for getting his team up to play in this game. I mean, it's so impressive. I mean, it's so many. You look around the league right now. You watch a team like Denver who just rolled over and died against the Rams this weekend. And the Titans are playing for absolutely nothing in this game. Everything is riding on their game against the Jags next week. This game means nothing. They're playing backups on backups, and they're still in this game against a Cowboys team that needs it. I mean, that is so telling. This is a Cowboys team that's still playing for something. It's still playing for an opportunity to potentially win the NFC East. Yeah, it's a long shot, but as long as they're still playing for it, they're going to have their starters out there. I'm telling you, it really makes you scratch your head when it comes to this Cowboys team. And it's why wins and losses at this point of the season aren't just wins and losses. Yeah, maybe the Cowboys win this game. All right, maybe they hold on and win 17-16 or 20-16 or something like that. But the fact that they are even in a game right now against this Titans team, it is beyond head scratching. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter at The Back Page. Cowboys with the football will update you on what's going on the other side, the live betting. All of it continues as we roll on with the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. All right. Thanks. Well, Page's picks. Cool. Boy, the Cowboys just converted on a huge 3rd and 10. I think it was CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott was under pressure, made a good throw, and Lamb was able to run past the first down marker for a ton of extra yards out towards midfield. Cowboys with the football, 1st and 10 on the Tennessee 47, a 17-13 lead in Thursday Night Football, which we always got you covered for as it relates to live betting. We cover it in terms of the post-game press conferences after the game. We'll always give you the most relevant stuff from the coaches involved in the game and sometimes the players that are involved in the game as well. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Bill Bender coming up in 13 minutes. Talk some college football with him. Curious to get his thoughts on this wild college football bowl season that's really seen some entertaining games. And we've still got the best of all to come with obviously the playoff games this weekend, Ohio State and Georgia, TCU and Michigan. And you know, you've got there's so many narratives around all of these different teams. Obviously, Georgia sort of the preordained favorite, and rightly so with what they've done, throughout this college football campaign. But then you have Ohio State, which was rolling along until they ran into Michigan at the end of the regular season. And then there's Michigan and the story of Jim Harbaugh, which always attracts a lot of attention, and people will certainly question what his future looks like. Former Indianapolis Colts quarterback Jim Harbaugh. Team needs a head coach, Jim Harbaugh. And as much as Jim Irsay loves him some Jeff Saturday, could Jim Harbaugh be in the mix for that job, depending on how motivated he is to potentially make a return to the NFL? You never know. So, a lot of great storylines. TCU, Max Duggan, who's been so much fun to watch, throughout this season. And this TCU team that's been slighted by everyone every step of the way, except for the playoff committee, which still got it right and made sure they were in, despite the fact that they lost to Kansas State in their conference championship game. So there's so many great storylines. And I'm curious to see from Bill Bender what storylines he finds the most intriguing as well. So start of the fourth quarter, as I said, Cowboys lead the Titans 17-13. We'll keep you up to date on that. The Knicks lose tonight in San Antonio. And it just, look, they're lost right now without Jalen Brunson. There's just no getting around it. They lose to a Spurs team that has just 11 wins on the season. That's a bad loss for the Knicks. 122-115, despite 41 from Julius Randle. Mavericks, Luka is just amazing. I mean, he could have 50 again tonight if the Mavericks weren't destroying the Rockets by 21. He's got 35. He's got a triple-double with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, he is really putting his stamp on this NBA season. Really leaving his mark. Doncic tonight, 35 points, 12 rebounds, 13 dimes. Mavericks up big at home against the Rockets. So I don't know if Doncic is in there now. He may not be in there much longer, though. Hornets beat the Thunder tonight. Only game left, by the way, is that Rockets-Mavericks game as far as the NBA slate is concerned. Celtics got a win over the Clippers tonight. Good win for them, 116-110. Jaylen Brown had 29. Kawhi, in a losing effort for the Clippers, had 26. That's a good win for Boston at home. Who knows? Potential NBA Finals preview. It's anybody's guess who's coming out of the West. So you can basically say Boston versus, 10 different teams in the West is a potential Finals preview. It's that crazy in the West right now. Ja Morant tonight, career high 17 assists. Grizzlies beat the Raptors 119-106. Only other game that I did not mention, Pacers beat the Cavaliers 135-127. 135 points, my God. Those are not the Rick Smits days of the Indiana Pacers. Rick Smits is not walking through that door. 135, 126. My goodness. And Aaron Nesmith might have had one of the dunks of the year over Jared Allen, who's going to be on a poster somewhere and probably getting a lot of grief from his teammates after being dunked on. All right. Updating the Cowboys and the Titans, because that's what we do on this show. Cowboys lead the Titans 17-13 with the football out around midfield. We will keep you posted on what is going on there as they start the fourth quarter. Where I haven't given you a live betting pick on this yet, and I just don't feel that strongly one way or another. If I'm leaning anywhere, though, it's towards the Titans at plus 10.5 right now. And plus 900. How about plus 900 on the money line for the Titans? And they're only down 4 points. Now, I know the Cowboys are driving, so I would not advise you to go and put your whole bankroll. First of all, on live betting in general, you shouldn't be putting your whole bankroll on it. Small bets. You know, you want to go and put big money on something, don't do it with live betting. You just throw a little bit here, a little bit there. It keeps every game interesting. And as I said, lots of great opportunities, as I try to tell you guys all the time if you're listening to the show. Lots of great live betting opportunities in the NFL and the NBA. 2nd and 4 for the Cowboys on the Tennessee 20 as they try to make this a 2-score game again. A field goal would only make it a touchdown game, and there's still plenty of time left in this game. I'd be leaning towards the Titans at plus 9.5 right now if I was going to do anything. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So 9.5 towards the Titans. You know what? Let's lock this in. Let's go lock this in. Plus 9.5 on the Titans. That's our live bet of the moment. Thank you. Hopefully we're sounding that register in a good way when this game is over. So Titans plus 9.5, trailing 17-13. A 3rd and 2 coming up for the Cowboys. That'll go a long way in determining whether or not they put 3 on the board here with Brett Maher, or whether or not they potentially take a 10-point lead in this game. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004, on Twitter at The Back Page. And I'm curious to get your thoughts. Have you gotten to a point now, if you're a Cowboys fan, I'd love to hear from you. Because I wonder if Cowboy fans at this point have just seen enough to know that while Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, he is simply too careless with the football for this team to be able to win in the postseason. Especially, and here's the other part of that problem. They're going to have to win in the postseason from the wild card spot. And that means winning a lot of football games and not having any weeks off and having to do it basically entirely on the road. That's very problematic. I mean, you're talking about the Cowboys having to win, as it sets up right now, they would play the winner from the NFC South. So it's either Tampa Bay or Carolina right now. Then in the game after that, they get Philadelphia. Or potentially they would get, actually I shouldn't say that. They would get, Philadelphia would either get Dallas, Tampa Bay, or whoever wins the NFC South. The Giants, assuming you believe the Giants are going to get in. Minnesota, and whoever that last wild card team is. They'd get one of, they wouldn't get Minnesota, obviously. They wouldn't get Minnesota until potentially the NFC Championship game. But they could get the Giants, Cowboys, or the Commanders. So that's what you're talking about right now for Philadelphia. But you're talking about Dallas having to win 4 games on the road with Dak Prescott playing the way he is at quarterback. It's a big problem. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure they're up to it from the perspective of Dak Prescott. And again, I've been as defensive of him as anybody throughout this season. But a guy with 14 interceptions and the lack of, the number of games that he's played It's tough to believe in Dak Prescott right now. All right, we'll switch gears, do some college football on the other side. Bill Bender joins us from the Sporting News next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Let me know when we have a minute left. Thanks. That is a very dangerous question. It's all right. It's just too much running around. I should have taken this week off. That was my big. Glad to have you along for the ride on this Thursday edition of the show. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. We'll continue with the conversation on the phones in a bit at 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can always tweet at the show, at The Back Page, again on Twitter, at The Back Page. All right, let's talk some college football. Bowl season is in full swing, and it's been I have to say, again, I don't typically get into any of these lower echelon bowl games and, the whatever it's called, .com bowl. But I have to say, I've been into it a bit more this year because I got into one of these college football bowl pools. And you got to pick every game and all that stuff. And who the hell knows who half of these teams are? You're asking me to pick a game with Buffalo in it. I mean, for crying out loud. But I've actually done pretty well. But the big games are coming up this weekend, obviously. Michigan and TCU, Ohio State, and Georgia. And to break those games down and everything going on in college football, we bring in our good friend Bill Bender, who does a terrific job, college football writer over at the Sporting News. Bill, first of all, happy holidays to you, my friend. This long wait for these playoff games is almost here. This interminable wait for these college football playoff games is almost here.
Yeah, and we've written everything, we've broken it down every way we can. Like you said, I'm doing the bull pull too. I'm doing okay against the spread, a little better straight up. Taking a hurt here on this Texas game, but that's all right. If I go over 500 on bulls, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and who's got the time? I mean, for you, it's probably a little easier than most. I'm doing it against the spread, and it's a real challenge, man. It is not easy. And yeah, Texas isn't doing any of us any favors for those of us that picked Texas as I did as well. At the end of all the talk and breakdown, and we'll go through both of these games. Start with obviously Michigan and TCU. Analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, as they always say. When you look at something for so long, it's easy to almost kind of fool yourself from what your initial opinion might be. Have you vacillated at all on who you think wins this game, and kind of where's your head at on it?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, Michigan, just at first glance, the line hasn't moved much. When that happens, you see that hook, meaning they're daring you to take Michigan. And for me, I'm a guy that's followed the Big Ten my whole life, Michigan and Ohio State in particular. So you kind of trick yourself into thinking, okay, I mean, on paper, Michigan should win. Michigan should overpower TCU in the second half. But to me, I look at the Maryland game, and that was the one team that gave Michigan a little bit of a fit in the first half. And TCU has some comparable pieces that are better. So for me, it's like if TCU hits a couple deep passes early and Michigan can't figure it out or adjust, that would be the formula for TCU to win, especially if Max Duggan is a playmaker with his feet.
Blake Corum's absence and being out as long as he has now, you would think the team has had time to adjust. Donovan Edwards is obviously very talented. Do you think that is a non-issue at this point when you look at this matchup?
Yeah, you can't. Well, I look at it both ways. One, if Blake Corum was playing, yes, Michigan would be a better team. I mean, he's an outstanding running back. He had 1,400 yards. But I think his injury, J.J. McCarthy to step up, and he did in those last two games. It forced Donovan Edwards to step up. There's a guy that, in the big games, Penn State, Ohio State, Purdue, and he was awesome. He averaged about 180 yards in those games. So, the big plays have been huge for Michigan, and if those continue, I mean, I look at this team that'll use the experience from last year and keep it rolling.
You never know how many opportunities like this you're going to get if you're a school like TCU. You're always up against it in terms of, some of the bigger powerhouse schools in the country. It was just a nail biter for them to get in after losing to Kansas State, and the pressure that comes with being a school that doesn't have the sort of respect that a lot of those other schools have. That being said, is there a playing with house money mentality here? For this TCU team? You watch the way they played games this year. I remember that game against, what was it, Purdue, where they ran the field goal unit out there, ran an extra play, and they're literally running this fire drill out there to get the field goal unit on to kick the game winner, which they wound up making at that time to stay undefeated. Is that sort of mentality, part of the personality of this team, even as they go into this kind of game?
Well, I mean, that field goal was huge. The way that they won that game, they lived on the edge some. And they've been in a lot of close games. And Michigan hasn't been in a ton of close games, though I would argue, Ohio State was still a tight game in the fourth quarter. They obviously escaped the Illinois game. So if it's a four-quarter game, yeah, TCU ought to be comfortable in that spot. They've been there, done that. And, the one thing I worry about them is Kansas State gave them some issues with their balanced offense, their physical offensive line. And if they thought Kansas State was physical on both sides, man, Michigan up front in the trenches, especially on offense with that Joe Moore winning offensive line. I mean, you know what they're going to do. And if Michigan gets ahead, we know what they're going to do, right? They're going to play conservative, try to bleed the clock and get themselves to LA. So it is a thick challenge for TCU. And on their roster, right, they have one 5-star guy. Everybody else has more talent, and that's something that they're going to have to be creative to get around.
Yeah, at the same time, the one thing I'll throw back at you when they talk about, these 5-star guys, how many times, does somebody get rated as, from a recruiting standpoint, somebody garners a 5-star rating, 4-star rating, whatever it may be. There's so many guys that just don't get the respect, though, and don't get the same looks. So sometimes I look at the difference between, how many 5-star guys does this team have versus how many 4-star guys does the opposing team have? Sometimes I feel like, that, especially when you get to a one-game situation and these teams being as battle-tested as they are, sometimes I think that gets a little too much play. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, in a game like that, now when we switch the conversation to Georgia, Ohio State, I think it's negligible because both of those teams have NFL rosters, right? They have so much talent that you can't say. I mean, that's one thing that's interesting about that game is Ohio State there's not a talent deficiency from Georgia. And I mean, from TCU standpoint, that's a great point because that shows that Sonny Dykes developed some of those guys. I mean, nobody's looking at Quentin Johnson and being like, well, look at his star rating. No, you're looking at a beast receiver that can get down the field and make some plays with his speed. That's one matchup in that game I'm looking forward to is Johnson and how much is he lined up against Will Johnson, Michigan's long corner. And you follow Michigan football, that standard's always Charles Woodson, but whenever they have a pretty good corner out there, they get a lot of attention.
Sometimes I even think I'm just thinking more about this whole conversation about, talented teams and great players and just watching the NFL tonight. Here's this guy, Joshua Dobbs, who's been a journeyman in the league for however many years. He's out there tonight with a MASH unit around him and playing against the Cowboys, who've got some pretty good defensive players and have put pressure on them all night. And these guys still make the throws. I think of Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. So I always kind of just find myself laughing at the ideas of, what guys are recruited as, or the labels we put on guys as 5-star, 4-star, and all that, because sometimes at the end of the day, it's opportunity, it's who's looking, it's who's watching on a particular day when you're being scouted and checked out. And it just feels like sometimes we get so hung up on these things. And I get, that's ultimately how these guys wind up at whatever school they wind up at. But you just wonder how many diamonds sort of slip through the cracks. How many great players slip through the cracks because the wrong person is watching on the wrong day.
Oh, it's totally fair. And I mean, even on the loaded rosters. I mean, I think one of the things that Jim Harbaugh doesn't get enough credit for is you're talking about his roster. There's not a ton of 5-star guys on it.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy's pretty good. And that's one thing that I think is the key to this playoff. And I do look at this, and you might call me crazy here in a second, but McCarthy of these 4 quarterbacks has recruited one, the only 5-star one. And if we fast forward, you were just talking about Dobbs. If I had to take one of these 4 guys in the NFL, I'm probably going to take J.J. McCarthy.
Really?
As a first-year starter, I would. I think if you look at him as a first-year starter and what he's done and playing in a system that's kind of like the NFL, the talent's there. I mean, I think Stetson Bennett could have a decent NFL career. I'm not talking down about C.J. Stroud. He's obviously going to be hyped. But if I had to take one in the NFL over the next 8 to 10 years, I'd probably take J.J. McCarthy.
All right, Charles, save that tape. Charles Carter's our producer, engineer, working the show tonight in Houston for me while I'm out here in California. You save that tape, Charles, because one day, years from now, we're gonna have Bill Bender on the show. He'll have a few more gray hairs by then. We're gonna have to ask him about how this prognostication worked out. All right, Georgia and Ohio State. We talked about it a little bit. Make the argument for Ohio State.
First quarter. I mean, they got to get the psychology of the Michigan game out. And, now they're there. There's that, new life. I think if they take what LSU did in the second half, granted LSU was down 35-10, and they create some mismatches in the secondary and give C.J. Stroud time, I mean, Marvin Harrison can work. That's what I'm talking about with the talent. I mean, Marvin Harrison, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, all of those, they didn't even have Jackson Smith and Jig, but if they had him on top of it, all of those guys are playing on Sunday. So they can get some matchups on the perimeter, get off to a good start, make it a game like Alabama. I mean, one of the things that Ryan Day said that stood out to me today was Nobody's given us a chance to win. Ohio State's a dangerous underdog. They've always been a dangerous underdog, 6-2 straight up in the playoff era in that situation. So again, Georgia's talent isn't overwhelming them, but it's still a long checklist the Buckeyes have if they're going to win that game.
In the end, you pick Ohio State. In the end, you pick Georgia, though, right?
I do, and I think on the other side, it's the defense has to hold up, and I just don't know how Georgia. I go back to the Tennessee game. Georgia won that game. They won? I think it was 27-30 to 14 or something, and it felt like they won 50-0 because they're content to run the ball and throw the ball to tight ends, and it doesn't have to be a huge win on the scoreboard. If they get out of that game and we look at it Sunday morning and it was 28-13 and it feels like 45-10, Georgia's content with that. So I think I have 33-28 Georgia, and I had 34-23 Michigan. I think we're going to see a rematch in LA between those two from last year.
I got time for one more. Just overall this bowl season and what we've seen. Any one overarching theme that stuck out to you?
I tell this to people all the time. Bowls mean something different to everybody. I mean, whether it was watching Frank Gore from 300 yards, whether it was watching that wild Liberty Bowl last night. I mean, I'm going to stay up and watch the end of this Texas game. The opt-outs, the NIL, all of those things are kind of tearing at college football a little bit. But when you get to the games, they're still fun. And I still enjoy it. My alma mater will play tomorrow. I'm going to root for the Ohio Bobcats against Wyoming. And like I said, it just means a little bit to everybody. And I don't know what the 12-team playoff will do to it, but we'll see.
Great stuff from Bill Bender, college football writer over at the Sporting News. Bill, have yourself a happy New Year. Enjoy the games this weekend. I'm sure I'll drop you a text message when something crazy happens. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks so much for having me. Happy New Year.
Same to you, my friend. We'll come back and wrap up the hour next. Thanks, Bill. Hey, he's gone. Cowboys looking to put the dagger in here. Oh, boy. Oh, he's cramping. Cramping. Thanks. Oh, snuck it in. Him saying that? Cool. I was actually pretty serious. If you could do me a favor, email me that clip. I'll give you my email. That interview will be in the podcast, by the way. Cowboys on top of the Titans now 27-13. Titans were driving, turned it over on down. Actually, they punted it away on a fourth down. Cowboys march down the field, get a field goal, lead 27-13, 6:24 to go. So on their way to a win. And now we need a Titans touchdown for the old backdoor cover. So many chances to win, and the backdoor cover is what we're down to. We took the Titans at plus 9.5, I believe it was, right? It doesn't matter if it's 8.5, 9.5. Doesn't make a difference. They need a touchdown in order for us to cover the live betting spread that we took a little earlier on when this game was 17-13. And then 23, let's see, it was 20-13. No, it was 24-13. So we'll see how it all ends up. Before we wrap up the hour, I think we'd be derelict in our duties if we didn't mention the passing of one of the all-time greats in the history of sports, Pele, greatest soccer players of all time, passing away at the age of 82 today after a somewhat lengthy illness. Yeah, the one way I could best sum up Pele is this. In a sport that is defined by low numbers, guys score, you see soccer matches 2-1, 1-0, 3-2 if you're lucky, 2-2 ties. So you always think small numbers when you think of soccer. But this is something to consider. He played 21 years, did Pele, and he is said to have scored 1,283 goals in 1,363 senior matches for clubs and country. Think about that. In a sport that sees so few goals, he scored 1,283 of them. You needn't look any further than that to understand the greatness that was Pele. And that's how we wrap up hour number 1 of the show. Hour number 2 right around the corner. We are guest free, which means if you want to weigh in, 1-800-224-2004, you certainly can. 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show as well at the back page. We'll give you the latest on Thursday Night Football and a whole bunch more as we continue on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. All right, I'll be back. Another hour of the show starts right now. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Looking for that backdoor cover on the live betting. Actually, this would be a backdoor cover on both the live betting and the betting from before the game. Titans at midfield, trailing by 14. Little in doubt in terms of whether or not the Cowboys are going to win the game, but certainly some consequential plays left for those that have money on it, which is why the game is never really over, no matter what the scoreboard says. And Dobbs and the Titans just got another first down to keep the chains moving on the Cowboys side of the field, so hang in there. It is officially a sweat. We can officially call this one a sweat because that's what you got going on right now with the Titans with the ball, and a touchdown would basically cinch up the live betting that we gave you tonight. I think it was plus 9.5 on the Titans, and it would cinch up for those who had the Titans just in the pre-game betting as Dobbs takes a shot at the end zone and comes up empty. Final Amazon Prime game, too, by the way, it should be noted. Yeah, it's the last time we'll see Allen Herbie doing a game. And I tell you, man, they've had some rough games. I mean, they get a game tonight that essentially means nothing for the Titans, means a little bit for the Cowboys. You got the backup quarterback to the backup quarterback playing for the Titans. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know if it's just bad luck or the way it was scheduled or a little bit of both, but it just feels like for his first season on Amazon Prime and this big rollout of Thursday Night Football, Alan Kirk just didn't get a lot of great games. It's going to be a 3rd and 10 coming up for Dobbs and the Titans as they try to get this to a 1-touchdown game and try and set up an onside kick, but also try and give a lot of bettors a big win to end the year. We're back with more of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. What's up? Yeah, that's fine. Actually, I think I had your number because Craig texted it to me earlier this week. No, Craig sent us, if you look on Monday, Craig said, Justin, good morning. Copying you on this group text with host Jason Page who will be working with you. Is your number 832-374-8364? Oh, my God. He gave me the wrong person's. Oh, no, wait. That's Justin's number. Hold on. Is your number 832-360-3779? Yeah, he gave me your number. Here, I'll send you my email right now. Jason at decibel88.com. There you go. He's got plenty of time. Throw the football. It's on Amazon Prime. Prime Video. Yeah. He's got alopecia. Like Charlie Villanueva. I don't know. You remember Charlie Villanueva? Yeah. I don't know how old you are. How old are you? Oh, okay. Yeah, Charlie Villanueva, he used to play for UConn, then was on the Bucks for a ton of years. He had alopecia. You what? What do you mean 40 seconds? Oh, that's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm always back in time. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's just, it's nuts. Well, the Titans offense has had two opportunities since going down 27-13 in this game. And both times they were able to move the ball to the Cowboys side of the field, and both times they turned it over. Well, one time they turned it over on downs, the other time they punted it. But looks like we may have a rare live betting loser here on the show. I haven't had a live betting loser in a while. I mean, we've been really good on the live betting, but we're in trouble now. Unless the Titans get it back one more time with maybe a little bit of time left on the clock, but doesn't look very good. 27-13, Dallas leads the Titans, 3:44 to go in the fourth quarter. Good to have you with us on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. If you're just tuning in, maybe you're just catching us for the first time, we're a sports talk show like, a lot of sports talk shows where we get into the big stories of the day and I give you my takes on them, but we also do a lot in terms of sports betting, live betting, and some analysis and breakdown on things going on with a game or two every night that we sort of pick as our games of the night. So there's always opportunities on this show for us to dispense some live betting advice. We also pick the NFL games every week like a lot of other shows do. Paige's Picks. I give 4 picks every week on this show, usually on Fridays, but because this week we'll obviously be off on Friday because we've been off the last 2 Fridays for the holidays. So we will have Paige's Picks coming up 27 minutes from now. 4 picks from the NFL. I am 30-31 on the year. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, Susan? It's baseball. Yeah. We are 1 game under 500 for the entire season. It's just been that way. We've just been very mediocre in our picks. 3-1 one week, 1-3 another, and then a whole bunch of weeks where we've gone 2-2. It feels like every single week we go 2-2. Hey, here's the good news. All right, we're still alive. We still got a live one when it comes to the Cowboys and Titans because we told you to take the Titans at plus 9.5. So they're going to get the football back on a 4th down and 7 coming up. The problem is they're going to have to go the length of the field with, I don't know, maybe a timeout left, if that. Maybe 2 timeouts left. I'm not sure. So we're gonna need a miracle here. We're gonna need another Music City miracle, so to speak, if the Titans are to take care of this live bet we put on them. Also, still very much in play, the pregame bet on this one, which was 27. I think it was like 11 or 12. The Cowboys were favored by. Either way, you need a Titans touchdown on the next drive to cover that. So still a lot to be decided between the Cowboys and the Titans. Again, Cowboys should be punting it away here on 4th down with the 2-minute warning having just finished up. So we'll keep you up to date on that. I saw something really interesting. I've been dying to talk about this all week, but I haven't had any real time. The Cowboys right now, and I know our friends in Dallas listen on 97.1 The Freak, although they may still be in Mavericks postgame there because we're on the Mavericks flagship station. But all that being said, take the Dak Prescott situation out of the mix. Now, all year long, I have been telling you guys that to me, the 2 teams to beat in the NFC were not the Eagles and. It was San Francisco and. And the and for me was Dallas. Because until I see it from Jalen Hurts in the postseason, I'm not buying into this idea that the Eagles are, that it's a fait accompli. They're going to be the team to represent the NFC. And anybody who knows me knows I think Minnesota is a complete fraud. I don't care what their record says. I don't care what their record is in one-score games. I think it's 12-0 now in games decided by 8 points or less. I don't care about any of it. Minnesota is a fraud. If you bet on them in the postseason, you will have your heart broken. I promise you. Plain and simple. But with all that having been said, I've been very glowing in my praise for the Cowboys. Probably more effusive in my praise for the Cowboys than I have been at any point in my sportscasting career. And that goes back 30 years. A long time. But at the same time, there have been several things this year that have come up that have once again proven why this team, while talented as it may be, really is one of the circuses, not just in the NFL, but all of sports. Whether it was Cooper Rush taking over at quarterback and playing well, and Jerry Jones blabbing his mouth about, hey, I hope we have a quarterback controversy. Whether it was the flirtation with Odell Beckham Jr. that got everybody talking for weeks and weeks on end about the OBJ sweepstakes. Who's going to get OBJ? Well, nobody's got OBJ. It's week 17, and he's not on a team. And doesn't look like he's going to be on a team. And then the Cowboys went and got T.Y. Hilton. And then the story I saw today, and this doesn't even go into the whole thing with Jerry Jones and the stuff about, the picture of him being uncovered when he was a young teenager in high school, and, the segregation lines that were in place at a school, and him being sort of at the back of the pack, watching as these black teenagers tried to enter a school and weren't allowed to do so. I'm not even taking that and putting it into the equation. But that was part of the Cowboy circus that came to town this year. But last but not least, the Cowboy circus story that might top all of them this year. I actually thought this was an Onion story when I read it today. I actually thought it wasn't real. I thought it was, I honestly thought that, it was one of those fake things. Sometimes you see stories on Twitter, and the name of the person at whatever has like one letter spelt differently, and you read it and you're like, oh my God, Shohei Ohtani's been traded to the Yankees, and then you realize it's a fake account. I actually thought this story today that I read was of that ilk, that it was something that outrageous that it had to be fake, that it was an Onion sports headline. Here's the headline, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this is why the Cowboys are the Cowboys. It isn't about winning. It's just about being in the headlines. It's about winning the headline standings. And the Cowboys, when it comes to the standings, they are always at the top of the headline standings. Maybe not wins and losses. Maybe not Super Bowls in recent years. But no. The headline standings, they are Super Bowl champs. Here's the headline. Ready? I'm even going to bring Charles, our producer, in on this one. Charles Carter's producing the show tonight. Right, Charles? Here's the headline. I'm going to read this to you, and I want to hear your genuine reaction. Because I wonder if you even saw this. Here's the headline. Terrell Owens, Cowboys, reportedly unable to agree on contract details. I swear to God. This is a true story. True story. He's 49 years old. He's 49. And the Cowboys, of course, looking for help at receiver. They just signed T.Y. Hilton, who's a veteran in his own right. He's not 49, but he's a veteran in his own right. Here's the story. The Cowboys have been checking out their options for reinforcements at wide receiver, but they will not get any from the legendary Terrell Owens. Despite reports that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones had been in contact with Owens about a possible return, the two sides could not come to an agreement. According to NFL reporter Dov Kleiman, Owens wanted more money from the team and the contract talks fell apart. Again, you know it's 2022 when you see these kinds of ridiculous. Again, I swear to you, I read this and checked everything on it because I was convinced it had to be fake. Could not possibly be real. Nope. It's absolutely real. I even looked at Dov Kleiman's Twitter, and he is a very reliable source. He's got 106,000 followers. He's verified. This is not a fake story. This is actually a real headline in the year 2022 that the Cowboys were thinking about signing Terrell Owens. And apparently the reason it won't happen is T.O. just needs a little more cash. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Owens' agent Gregory D.L. Daniel recently spoke to Sports Illustrated about the receiver's potential return, said that Owens and Jones had been in constant communication about a deal. Wow. Yeah. We've been in constant communication with Jerry Jones' office over the last few days about the possibility of him returning to the Cowboys, Daniel said. Terrell is ready to contribute and play any role, big or small. He's in outstanding shape. He looks no different than he did years ago. I watched him running routes full speed with Deshaun, meaning Deshaun Jackson, and he looked great. He didn't drop a pass. Well, it's kind of important if you want to play receiver. He most recently ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, which was his warm-up. He's a legend. We want to make history and see him break these records. If anybody can do it, it's him. His 3 Ds are... His 3 Ds. Let's see, Hulk Hogan? His 3 Ds are desire, dedication, and discipline. He embodies that every day, even running hills at 3 a.m. on Christmas morning. Owens apparently has really been on this thing. You were talking about Kansas City. After San Francisco lost Deebo Samuel with an injury earlier this year, he reached out to Jed York to try and get the Niners to sign him. If he ever did make an NFL comeback, he'd be the oldest player ever. He's 49 years old. Already in the Hall of Fame. Has anybody ever come back and played after already being in the Hall of Fame? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to say no. 3 years with the Cowboys, he caught 235 passes, 38 touchdowns. But here's, again, and this is why, to go back to my main point, we could sit here and laugh all we want about this. The fact that this was even being talked about. I mean, how are you feeling about this if you're Mike McCarthy? And you got to deal with the Terrell Owens circus on top of everything else that already comes with being head coach of the Cowboys. And I say this all the time. Your job as an owner is to put your management in positions to succeed. The job of the GM, put the coach in position to succeed. The job of the coach is to put players in the position to succeed, and so on down the line. Now, in this case, Jones is both owner and basically de facto GM of the Cowboys. He makes all the final decisions. So at the end of the day, it comes down to, if Jerry wants it, it happens. Be damned what it means for the rest of the team and for Mike McCarthy and all of this. But I'm gobsmacked. I'm positively gobsmacked that this is a real story that I actually had to dedicate time to on the show today. And as much as I love the idea of the Cowboys and Niners potentially winding up in a showdown for the NFC title, every time I see a story like this, I'm reminded why the Cowboys continue to be in the position they've been in year after year after year after year. It all starts with ownership / GM / circus clown. That's Jerry Jones. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, observable fact tells us it is. We're back with more 800-224-2004. It is a final. We are losers tonight. Oh, God, I hate saying that. The Cowboys win 27-13 against the Titans. Very disappointed. We'll have post-game from that coming up in the next hour of the show. Back with more of the Cash-In on SportsMap Radio. I mean, the dude is in amazing condition, but still. It's just bonkers. Thank you. I just wanted to... It's all good. If you had the over-under on the number of players that were going to be suspended in that Magic Pistons brouhaha that took place last night in Detroit, if you had the number at 10.5, it went over. 11 players suspended from the Magic and Pistons after the ugly fracas that took place. If you didn't see it, we didn't talk about it last night because we had a number of other things to get into. We had a couple of guests. Detroit guard Killian Hayes and Mo Wagner were both suspended multiple games for their roles in the scuffle, which took place when they were both chasing a loose ball running down the sideline towards the Pistons bench. Wagner kind of threw out his elbow and shoved Hayes, who then came back and hit Wagner in the back of the head, basically rabbit punched him in the back of the head. And so Hayes, who struck Wagner in the back of the head, got a 3-game suspension. Wagner was banned 2 games. Pistons, Hamidou Diallo was suspended 1 game by NBA Executive Vice President Joe Dumars, who's a former Piston, by the way. Former Piston great. It was so bad that the suspension of the Magic players will have to be staggered so they have enough available players to play their next game. See, here's the problem. The whole thing happened on the Pistons bench. So none of their players had to worry about getting in trouble for coming off the bench because it happened on their bench. But all the Orlando players came running down the court and left their bench, which you're not allowed to do in the NBA. That happened. I think that whole rule was instituted, if I'm not mistaken, in the late 90s when the Knicks had some brawls with like the Bulls and the Pacers, who were their arch nemesis back in the day. Oh, it was terrible. So Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, Gary Harris, Kevon Harris, Admiral Schofield, Franz Wagner, Mo Bamba, and Wendell Carter Jr. were all suspended 1 game. You know who didn't get suspended, by the way? My guy. See? He's got good judgment. Bol, my favorite player in the league. You didn't know that? Yeah, Bol is my favorite player. I literally, every time a highlight reel of him pops up on my Twitter feed, I wind up in a rabbit hole for at least a good 30 minutes of just watching highlights of him. I'm a huge Bol guy. What can I say? So anyway, all these suspensions will have to be served. 11 suspensions will result in just over $500,000 in forfeited salaries. Good thing nobody on the Magic makes anything. Hayes will lose the most from the Pistons. He'll be fined $121,000. And my favorite part, by the way, of that brawl, if you get a chance to watch it, my favorite part was the Pistons public address announcer, who's the same guy that's been doing their games for Detroit basketball. That guy. He's sitting there as these people are like fighting near the stands, and all he keeps saying is, "Fans, stay in your seats. Stay in your seats. Do not get involved." Because, of course, Detroit, not this arena, Little Caesars Arena, but Detroit, the Malice at the Palace, one of the most famous, if not the most infamous incident in sports history between fans and players, the whole Ron Artest thing, Steven Jackson going up into the stands, taking a swing at a fan who had thrown something towards him. It was awful. If you're too young to remember, go and Google the Malice at the Palace, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, this is a rare thing. We do not have a single basketball or football game to bet on right now. All the basketball games got done fairly early tonight. There is hockey, but I would be spitballing if I tried to give you a live hockey bet tonight. So that's why, for people wondering, why isn't he doing a live betting thing on hockey? I can't. There's no basketball and there's no football. And I'm not going to give you one on hockey. Sorry, I just can't do it. We will do Paige's picks, though, coming up in about 6 minutes here on the program. Looking forward to that, and we'll give you our 4 games from the NFL that we like this week. I got to say, not an easy week to pick games. When you get to this stage of the season, the odds makers tend to do a pretty good job. You know, to me, the key to picking games is finding the mistakes, identifying the spots where odds makers get it wrong. And there's usually 1 or 2 games every week that you can do that with. And then you fill it out with a couple more games that you feel confident in, even though the odds makers are probably pretty close in terms of the line and getting the desired action they want based on that line. But there's not a lot of games that I'm in love with this week. There's one. There is one game that is my lock of the week. But you're going to have to listen coming up in a couple minutes, and we'll give that to you. In the next hour of the show, we will have complete post-game coverage from the Thursday night football game. Look, if you're the Cowboys, I know the mentality is just get out of there with a win, and they did. And, you know, Dak Prescott made a couple of throws when he needed to, and all of that is great. But you've got to see a better effort out of him against a sort of a toothless Titans team that is playing a bunch of backups, that's really just saving all their bullets, so to speak, for next week. And you get a game where, Dak fumbles a football. They have a bad exchange on a snap. He throws 2 interceptions. And I'm sorry, every week is basically a warm-up act because he's going to be judged based on what he does in the postseason. And if the regular season's any indication, you got to be worried about Dak in the playoffs with all the turnovers. We're back with more of the cash-in. Page's picks around the corner on SportsMap Radio. So you'll hear, I'll be very, very clear on the cue. It'll just be time for Page's picks. And then you can play the intro and the music, and then I'll come in. Cool. The first segment from this hour. Now, have they told you about the podcast? Yeah, I'll tell you which segments. The first, the Bill Bender interview. The first long segment from this hour, the one that started at 12. And Page's picks. That's it. Put those segments in the podcast and you're done. Correct. The segment I did at 12 minutes past the hour. Boom goes the dynamite. Thanks. We got our eyes on the podiums for the Titans and the Cowboys. Just before I get to Page's picks, which we'll do coming up here in a couple minutes. We got a few minutes. I'm not trying to get all sentimental or mushy or dissect something that doesn't need to be dissecting or anything like that. But everybody watches this game tonight. And you watch, the Cowboys get a victory, and you hear this whole theme and this mantra about this game really not meaning anything for the Titans because it's all about what they do next week. But for one guy in particular tonight, this game meant everything. And that was Joshua Dobbs, who started this game, who started a game for the first time in his NFL career. He's the number 3 quarterback. He was on the practice squad and was elevated just for this game, Joshua Dobbs was. He was originally drafted by the Steelers. He's 27 years old. So, you're talking about a dream come true for Joshua Dobbs tonight. And let me say this before I get to my bigger point. After what I saw of him tonight and what I've seen of Malik Willis, who's now started a few games for this Titans team with Ryan Tannehill having been hurt at various times this year, Joshua Dobbs, if he's not starting next week, then everybody needs to have their heads examined in Tennessee. Because without question, based on what I saw tonight, with him playing with a bunch of backups around him, and the Cowboys still with something to play for, Joshua Dobbs acquitted himself well. He had a couple of, his receivers dropped a few balls on him and certainly did not pick him up, but he gave the Titans a chance to win this game. They were down 17-13 basically at the end of the third quarter. They were right there. And the Titans don't play great, aesthetically pleasing football. They're going to give you a dose of Derrick Henry, 25 times for 100 plus. They're going to try and control it on the ground, win a little bit with their defense, create some turnovers, shorter fields, all of that stuff. And to me, Joshua Dobbs gives them a chance to win next week against Jacksonville. I'm going to remind you, a Jacksonville team that beat them just a few weeks ago. So I come back to the Dobbs thing here for a second because while, everybody talks about we talk about the betting aspect and everybody's got their fantasy stuff and all of those things that they get into. Here was Joshua Dobbs with the opportunity of a lifetime. Because who knows what happens after this season? Ryan Tannehill's probably still going to be the quarterback in Tennessee, and the rest of the league will move on with its life. But for Joshua Dobbs, the league has no tape on him. And you never know what opportunities are going to pop up in the offseason. Maybe even just to be a regular backup and not be a practice squad guy. And tonight was his opportunity to get some tape. Not in a preseason game that doesn't matter where you're playing against a bunch of guys that are going to be working at the D'Agostino in a couple of weeks. But playing against Micah Parsons. He had Micah Parsons in his face all night. In fact, Parsons should have been flagged for a helmet-to-helmet hit on Dobbs in this game, and he wasn't. So he was more than in his face on one particular play. But for a guy like Joshua Dobbs, this was it. And the result may not have been what he was hoping it would be, but 20 of 39, 232 yards, a touchdown, an interception, gave his team a chance to win. Got to do a little better securing the football. I think he fumbled one away too, if I'm not mistaken. But you know what, Joshua Dobbs, nothing to hang your head about. Nothing at all. Nothing whatsoever. For the former kid that played at the University of Tennessee. Imagine that. You played at the University of Tennessee. You played your college ball right there in that state, in Knoxville. And you go up the road a bit to Nashville, and you have a chance to play your first NFL game in prime time against the Dallas Cowboys. It's the stuff that dreams are made of, even if the result wasn't what he was hoping for. So we'll have post-game sound coming up in the next hour of the show. Also, my conversation with Bill Bender. He's our 2-for-1 tonight. All things college football with him, including the big college football playoff bowl games coming up this weekend. But right now, it's time to do one of my favorite things we do on this show. Each and every week, I try to dispense some sage words of wisdom, some advice to help you win some money. Now, I haven't been very good at it this year. I've been, frankly, very average at it. We aren't losing you a ton of money. You're basically losing the vig. If you've gone with me on my picks this year on this journey we like to call Paige's Picks. There it is. Charles Carter, ladies and gentlemen. DJCC on the mic. There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Paige's Picks, Week 17 in the NFL. And I said, there's not a lot of games I love this week, but I promise to give you 4 picks every week, and give you 4 picks I will. Game number 1 takes us to Foxborough, Massachusetts, where I'm sure it'll be cold, chilly, especially if you're coming from a city like Miami, where other than Palm Springs, there isn't another warm place in the country right now. It was 70 degrees out here today. Probably something like that in Miami today. It will not be 70 degrees on Sunday in Foxborough for the Dolphins and Patriots, with the Patriots still very much playing for something. The Dolphins plus 2.5 is the line. And I like the Dolphins plus 2.5. Yes, I know it's Teddy Bridgewater. I've heard the news that Tua is not playing this weekend. He's in concussion protocol. But I've watched this Patriots team with Mac Jones all year long. It feels like every time I look up, a Patriots game is on, despite the fact that Tom Brady isn't the quarterback anymore. Has anybody told the TV networks that, by the way? Yeah, I know Bill Belichick still coaches the team, but he's not on the field, and if he was, it wouldn't look very pretty. Ooh, I just had a visual. The Dolphins plus 2.5 is my pick for game 1. I trust Teddy Bridgewater. He's had a full week of practice with the team. This decision to put Tua in concussion protocol happened early in the week, so he's had more than enough time with the first teamers. I know Miami has not been reliable against the spread this season, but I still like Miami. This year, 2-2 as a road underdog. They will be 3-2 after this week. The Dolphins plus 2.5, game number 1. The next one is easy for me because I think I've rode the Giants every game this season. And I'll probably ride them every game next season and every game the season after that. And it's not because I'm a Giants fan. It's because the Giants are beasts ATS against the spread. There's just no getting around it. They're 11-4 this year against the spread. There's only one team that's better, and that's Cincinnati at 12-3. So while the Giants may not be winning a Super Bowl this year, although if they make the playoffs, you never know. Crazier things have happened. While they're probably not winning a Super Bowl this year, they are champions when it comes to ATS. They are a home favorite this week at -5.5 against a Colts team that has been as feckless as just about any in all of football. And believe it or not, for as good as the Giants have been against the spread, they're just 2-2 as a home favorite. First of all, it doesn't happen very often. And this might be the biggest spread this year for them at -5.5. I don't even know if they were that big a favorite against the Texans. But the Giants -5.5 for obvious reasons. We've seen the mess the Colts are with Nick Foles at quarterback, with Jeff Saturday running the team. Colts are a mess. Give me the Giants -5.5 at home for the win on the field and the win against the spread, and the Giants to clinch a playoff spot with a win this week. They damn well better. Game number 3. The Jaguars and Texans in Houston. I'll say this. Lovie Smith's team has played so hard all season long. So let me just start off by saying I give an immense amount of credit to Lovie Smith for what he's done. I hope he keeps that head coaching job. I hope this wasn't just a one-year Rooney Rule thing to sort of be able to go after Josh McCown next year or whatever other head coach is out there. Houston, by the way, against the spread this year, 7-7-1. Exactly what Vegas wants. They are 7-7-1 this season against the spread, is Houston. The Jaguars -4. How do they handle prosperity? Jacksonville just 7-8 this year against the spread. And as a favorite, as they are this week, as an away favorite this week, as they are, Jacksonville this year, you got to scroll all the way down. Jacksonville this year as a home. Wait, is this even? Are they not even? They haven't even had a game this year as a road favorite? Is that possible? Guess not. Jacksonville has not had a game this year as an away favorite. That's remarkable. As an away favorite, they have not had a game this year. Wow. That's crazy. Well, no time like the present. They are -4 this week against the Texans. I had to actually do a double check on my statistics and make sure I was right. I like the Jaguars -4. This is their week. I mean, it's all sitting right there in front of them. Not just for the division, but in terms of a wild card spot, which is still a possibility for them. Jaguars -4 at the Texans. All right, now here's my pick of the week. There's only one game I was truly in love with this week, and it's this one. And it's the tricky one. It's one that most people will go and scream, take the over. Steelers on the road in Baltimore against the Ravens. Now, a lot of people will look at this game and say 35.5. Come on, Paige. It's an NFL game. They got to be able to get over 35.5 points combined until you realize who the quarterbacks are. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, you know what, 35.5? They might be lucky to get to 25.5. Whenever you see a line this low, run with the under. The odds makers are trying to fool you. They're trying to scare you into taking the over at 35.5. Don't fall for it. It's a trap. Like Admiral Akbar used to say. It's a trap. Take the under in that Steelers-Ravens game. Under 35.5. You'll be thanking me on Monday. Or you'll lose the mortgage and you'll be living under a bridge and you won't be able to listen to the show anyway. They'll shut off your cell phone and you won't be able to call me to tell me what an idiot I am. Either way, we'll be all right. So my 4 picks this week for Paige's Picks, week 17 in the NFL. The Dolphins +2.5 at New England. The Giants -5.5 at home against the Colts. The Steelers and Ravens under 35.5, and the Jaguars -4. And that's Paige's Picks. Thank you for indulging me. We'll come back and wrap up this hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Wow. All right. All right, getting set to wrap up this hour of the show. Final hour right around the corner, and that means post-game sound from Thursday Night Football. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel. You'll hear from Mike McCarthy. Cowboy fans, you might just be tuning in. You want to give your thoughts on this win. And more importantly, I want to know what Cowboy fans' overall vibe is on Dak Prescott right now. I am fascinated to see how Cowboy fans feel. You think about the way this entire season is played out. We'll get into it in the next hour of the show. Every Sunday of the NFL season, you have a chance to win 2 tickets plus $50,000 in cash for the NFL's biggest game. You know the one, Glendale, Arizona. It's called the Super Pick 7 contest. It's going on right now at playfortickets.com. That's playfortickets.com. Listen to me carefully. You have a chance to go to the biggest game in football. And it's the one going on in Glendale, Arizona this February. $50,000 cash, 2 tickets, airfare, hotel. Playfortickets.com. Click on the Super Pick 7 contest. It's completely free to play. Completely free to sign up. Completely free to make your picks. And it couldn't be easier. All you got to do is pick the correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. You do that, you're going to the biggest game in the NFL this February and getting $50,000 cash in your pocket. That's playfortickets.com. 21 and over to play. Terms and conditions apply. We're back with the final hour and a whole bunch of NFL postgame sound on the cash-in on SportsMap Radio.
Come on, Teresa, it's late. Let's go.
Mike, the decision to start Dobbs, is that more to see and have a comparison contrast in the league, or did you think he gave you a better chance in this game tonight?
Probably a little bit of both last week, just kind of seeing.
The decision to start Dobbs, is that more to see?
Come on, Teresa, it's late.
This guy's a meathead. Golf cart. Meathead. Yeah. No worries. It's fine. Final hour of a Thursday/Friday edition of the show. Final hour that I will be on the air in 2022. Let's take a moment and just soak that in for a second. End of the year is here. Doing anything fun for New Year's? Producer, engineer extraordinaire Charles Carter, are you doing anything fun for New Year's? Boy, way to rely on you for something good to drop in. Jeez. Nothing? You're not doing anything? You're in your 20s and it's New Year's Eve. You're going to tell me you're working? What? So you're going to be like 28? 25. Jesus Christmas. Okay. Okay. On your birthday. You turned. Okay. Wow. Birthday's on Christmas Eve. It's kind of hard to screw that up. Nobody's ever going to forget your birthday. Oh, come on. Because everybody thinks they can get away with just getting you one gift because of the fact that your birthday sort of coincides with Christmas. You get screwed out of the true birthday enjoyment. That's what you're saying. All right, fair enough. So you're not doing anything for New Year's. Is Houston a fun place for New Year's? Uh-oh. What? Really? You having visions like Wednesday Addams on the Netflix show? Are you having visions or something? What? Oh my God. This show just went off the rails. Charles wound up in a white woman's body. Weird. What? Oh my God. All right. We're coming back. Stick around. More to do on the cash in. Stay tuned. Are you nuts? Is that really what happened? You woke up in the body of a white woman? Of course. I know a lot about I know a lot more about wrestling than I will ever admit. He's a mayor. He's the mayor of a town in Tennessee. What? Man, I want some of the drugs you're doing. Jesus. That's crazy, dude. I just finished binge watching Wednesday on Netflix. That new it's like the big hit show based on Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family. It was really, really good. Yeah. I don't know if you got a girlfriend or anything like that, but if you're looking for a show to watch with her, that's the show. It was really good. Yeah, we're trying to figure out. We just watched 8 episodes. They're 1 hour episodes, and we binged the whole first season in 2 days. Wait, say that again? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the 3 days off. I need it. I'm just positively exhausted between the holidays and being on the air, and it's a lot. Charge my battery for a few days for the stretch run to the Super Bowl. Yeah. I just want to listen to more of the song. This could be a first time this song's ever been on this show. Could be. All right, I'm going to sound very out of touch. Ready? Who is this? Oh, okay. Not like Andre the Giant, 3000. No, like just Andre. Okay. All right. Just checking. I'm so out of touch. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. On Twitter at the back page. Can I just say this? I saw a couple of weeks ago Lizzo perform on SNL. That woman can sing. Now, everybody likes to, oh my God, everybody likes to talk about her, fun and sort of fun-loving and, sort of, I don't want to say in your face, but she's very outgoing, and she's got an amazing personality and all of that. And people like to make comments about her weight and all that stuff. And I don't get into that because I'm fat myself. But I watched her on SNL, and she can belt it out. I was shocked. I had never really listened to her. I've seen her and heard a couple of her songs, that pop up on my satellite radio by accident once in now and then. She can sing. I was like blown away listening to her on SNL. I was really impressed. So, no, she can sing. Girl could sing, man. She can belt out a tune. She got some pipes. I think they said that she's a trained. What's the term? Oh, my husband told me. I can't remember the name of it. But she's like a professionally trained singer. Like she's not just some girl going out there. Oh yeah. She's got she got range and stuff like that. And that's the stuff that sort of impresses me. So anyway, I saw her on SNL. She was really good. Okay, give me a fun fact. Yeah. Really? Wow, I wonder what kind of existence that is. Is that sort of like being a backup quarterback in the NFL? To be a backup dancer? To be the background dancer? It's the safest job in the league. It's hard to screw it up, especially once you know the dances and got them down. So she had backup dancers on SNL. So I wonder if the person you're talking about was actually on SNL that night. Yeah. What a cool gig. So she doesn't sing at all. She's not a singer. She's just a dancer. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. But I mean, what's the shelf life of somebody as a backup dancer? You know what I mean? Like you can't. It's not very long, so you better have a fallback because you can't be a backup dancer forever. And what do they even make? How much money do you make? I guess if you're out on tour, I mean, the whole lifestyle for a couple of years, something like that would be fun. But you got to have zero ego because you're always going to be the background. You're never going to be the star. Like I can never be. Like I've even had, just to kind of give you an example, I've had points in my career where somebody's been like, "Oh, you want to be the B chair on a show?" As in not be the person driving and hosting the show. My entire career, I've never been a B chair. I think 2 times, literally 2 shows in my entire career, was I not the person driving it. I'm 45 years old. I started in radio when I was 17. So you could do the math. Almost 30 years of radio. I've never, with the exception of 2 times, not been the person like literally driving, bringing the show out of break, stuff like that. If you told me I had to be the background person, forget it. I couldn't do it. Yeah. But as I get old, I used to even be of the mindset of I wouldn't even do a co-host. My entire career, I never wanted a co-host. I was Colin Coward. I was the guy just doing Jim Rome. I was the guy who I just firmly believed I always wanted to be a solo act. Because if the show sucks, I have nobody to blame but me. If the show's great, I have nobody to take the praise but me. But I never have to worry if that person I'm working with is on their game. I never have to worry if my co-host got into a fight with his wife or girlfriend the night before, or if he was out drinking too late, if he was watching the games. I never had to worry about that. With a co-host, you got to worry about that every day. You know what I mean? As the solo guy, I never have to worry. It's all on me. If it sucks, it's my fault. It's nobody to blame. In terms of the content of the show, I never have to worry about it. So, but as I've gotten older, that mindset has changed now, and I've actually worked with a couple of people that I would consider actually hosting with. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely have a couple people that are on my short list that if I was in a different time slot, like this time of night, it's just not worth having a co-host because we're just breaking down the games and I don't really need a second voice. The games are the second voice for me. But if you're on during the day, I've got a couple of people that I would consider doing a show with, that I would consider co-hosting with. I'd still be in the A chair. I'd still be driving it. But I'd consider, there's a couple of people I'd consider working with. I don't know. Yeah, so now you got a little insight. Well, you learned a little bit about Jason Page, and we did it in front of a national audience, so that was even more fun. We did in front of like people listening on like 70 radio stations and an app all over the country. So anyway, tonight the Titans lose to the Cowboys 27-13. It's a mean nothing game for the Titans as it relates to their playoff aspirations because if they win next week against the Jaguars, then it doesn't really matter. Mike Vrabel is their head coach. After the game, he was asked about Joshua Dobbs, the decision to start him, the journeyman quarterback, and what it means going forward.
It's late. Let's go.
Mike, the decision to start Dobbs, is that more to see and have a comparison contrast with Malik, or did you think he gave you a better chance in this game tonight?
Probably a little bit of both last week, just kind of seeing. Really, it was a great opportunity to evaluate Josh, and then we'll make a decision going forward. I thought he did some good things. I thought he, certainly like to have a couple throws back, but we'll kind of see where things are here in a couple days.
When did you guys know he was going to be the guy tonight?
Early in the week, I told both of them.
How'd you like how you played, maybe on defense, keeping this game close, and the penalties, maybe the mistakes end up dooming you at the end?
Well, we just beat ourselves too much. It's too hard to beat the Cowboys or good football teams when you beat yourself. But I thought we competed. I was extremely proud of the way that the 47 guys we had up tonight competed, certainly without mistake. But we gave ourselves a chance, but then again, we just did too many things that hurt us and stalled drives or allowed drives to continue. And didn't get the drive stopped with a field goal, down there in the red zone.
Once you made the decision to go to Dobbs, was there ever any thoughts, okay, if it doesn't work out, to go back to Malik in this game?
Does that say anything, Mike, about Malik's progress, the fact that you bring in a guy from the practice squad?
I think that we're excited about having Malik. We're excited about some of the things that he's done, and we'll continue to just digest this over the weekend and kind of make a decision. Malik has worked hard, but then we just have to kind of see where we're at with the quarterback position here going down to the last week of the season.
Panic from some guys in some big moments with some drops, or with Trey draping himself around a guy on 3rd and 19 to give up 51 yards. There's some signs of panic in moments like that.
Then just got a penalty, critical penalty.
You had
Panic. Do you think guys panic, man? They're out there playing their butts off, man. They made a mistake.
You had 3 pass plays of over 30 yards. And that's something that hasn't been a part of your offense the last couple
No, man, I thought we protected well. It threw it out the course to get. There were times where, when it was obviously passing downs. But I thought there was times for Josh to progress through and move the ball downfield. I think Traylon got held. I think his left arm got grabbed. Same guy that called Paul's, 50-yard pass interference penalty. Didn't see it the same way on our sidelines. I don't know what to tell you. But I thought, there were opportunities where we could have helped, Josh out as well. And we couldn't come down with a catch. But there was also other times where we made plays down the field and, hit the screen versus pressure and all those things. I thought, Hassan had one of the better runs of the year on 4th and 2. Ran over a really good player and fell forward for a first down.
How about the roughing penalties? Did those seem pretty similar, Rice's and Bland's?
Those are judgment calls, and I think that was bad judgment.
You had a lot of decisions to make on players, who played, who didn't. Did Kevin, by chance, did he make a case that he wanted to play? How'd you think he played tonight with the 2 picks?
Well, I value Kevin's.
right, so there you go. Thoughts from Mike Vrabel in the post game after a difficult loss for his team, 27-13. And look, you could tell he was not in the mood for the Q&A session by and large. And, you see the media trying to goad guys into bad mouthing. They want to get that clip so bad. And you heard it in that press conference where they're trying to ask him, hey, what does it say about Malik that you opted to go with, a guy off the practice squad instead of your backup quarterback, huh? Don't you want to badmouth him? You know you do. And the media tries it, and Mike Vrabel knows it's coming, and he doesn't take the bait. And then they're asking, did you guys panic? Huh? And he's just like, dude, these guys are out there playing their what's off. Think they're panicking out there? It's why look, I'm this big a defender of the working media like these guys do, because I've done it. I've been in those press conferences, but there's too many of these guys just trying to find that gotcha moment, that moment where they're actively fishing for Mike Vrabel on 10 days before his team plays the biggest game of their season against the Jaguars, something that takes the attention away and creates a diversion that's only going to be a negative for the team. So kudos to Mike Vrabel for not taking the bait tonight. So you heard from Vrabel after the Titans loss as they get ready for the Jaguars in the final week of the season, and a game that will decide which of those two teams in all likelihood goes to the postseason. Let's hear from the other side. On the other side, Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Cowboys. That's next on The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Cool.
How do you look at it? I mean, frankly, that's talked about at halftime, talked about it again. I mean, we came here for the win. I said, we're not going to get into.
I'm still cracking up at that dream you had. Oh, that's great. Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. The Cowboys come away with a 27-13 win. Improved to 12-4 on the season. It's amazing to think about the journey the Cowboys have had this year. I mean, just go back to where we were at the end of game one with, Dak Prescott injuring his hand and missing several weeks, and Cooper Rush is the quarterback. No matter what happens this year, Cowboy fans owe a huge debt to Cooper Rush and this defense, obviously. But, it's easy to forget because it's such a week-to-week league. I mean, who can remember what happened 6 weeks ago, let alone 9 weeks ago, let alone, So for this team to accomplish what it has, when a lot of teams would have just folded it in when they found out Prescott was out for the year, and Cooper Rush stood in and did a more than admirable job as the starting quarterback for this team. I mean, to the point that some people were actually questioning whether or not they should start Dak Prescott when he came back. That's how good Cooper Rush was. Yeah, remember, we were having that conversation. And now this team is 12-4, still mathematically alive for the division, with the Eagles taking on the Saints this week and being able to wrap that up. But still, just really remarkable when you think about it. Okay, Mike McCarthy is the head coach of the Cowboys. He met with the media just a short time ago.
How do you look at it? I mean, frankly, that's talked about at halftime, talked about it again. I mean, we came here for the win. I said, we're not going to get into what it's supposed to be and things like that because, I mean, that's how you get yourself in trouble. So, yeah, I mean, we did a lot of really good things. I mean, I love the discipline of the team in the first half and everything, but, I mean, that, the takeaways were obviously big for us. The giveaways were big for them. I mean, there's obviously points off our board that turned into points on their board. So there'll definitely be things to look at. I mean, the run game wasn't what we had hoped, but this is the beauty of this spot. This was a hard stretch. We knew this was going to be a hard stretch when the schedule came out, and that really held true. So. I'm happy these guys got a couple days to catch your breath because this has been a tough fourth quarter so far.
Was it intensity what you wanted to focus for your team?
Intensity? Yeah, no, I think they played hard. I thought our pace of operation and some of our things was a little up and down. I addressed that at halftime. So I thought when we came out and had I think it was a 13-play drive. We got back on the go there. I mean, I just think like anything when you don't run the ball and you're playing uphill with the sticks, that it can tend to happen. So we'll take a hard look at the run game and make sure we're clean. And I think the biggest thing is really to get these 3 days off because this has been a tough stretch.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Walker, Cowboys.com. As you guys try to figure out the cornerback position in replacement of Anthony Brown, Deshaun Wright over 50% snaps last game. This game got a lot of burn, gets his first career interception. What have you seen throughout coaching?
Well, I mean, Deshaun just continues to just battle with every opportunity he gets. I mean, he plays special teams for us, last year at a high level, and he's clearly one of the guys you point to take the second year jump. I think we're seeing that, and but he needs to take another step. I mean, we got another game, and we still want to be able to play and get some rhythm with our defensive personnel. I think clearly we were more fluid this week than we were last week.
Jason, I want you to pick one of these topics.
So there you go. That's what you got out of Mike McCarthy tonight talking about. Once he starts getting into individual players and stuff like that, it's just like, yeah, all right, I'm done. I'm tuning you out. But, and look, I know they're going to say the style points don't matter, But for me, watching Dak Prescott, that's the only thing I'm watching right now is Dak Prescott. Because this team's ability to win a Super Bowl, they will rise and fall based on what happens with Dak Prescott. In a big spot, is he going to throw a costly pick? Yeah, you do it against the Titans tonight, it's not going to bite you. You do it against the Texans once or twice, you can get away with it. Now, there's just certain teams that are not going to be able to capitalize the same way. He pulls that act in the postseason against the Niners or against the Vikings or against the Eagles. And I'm sorry, they're just not going to be able to go far. And again, I'm as big a believer in the Cowboys as anybody you will listen to in syndicated radio. I have all season, if you've listened to this show, I have been trumpeting two teams, 49ers and the Cowboys. All year. Everybody's on the Eagles. No. For me, it's the Cowboys and the 49ers because of what those defenses can do. And I don't yet trust Jalen Hurts. I got to see it to believe it. And maybe he will lead this team to the promised land. Maybe they will. But I got to see it. And for me, I'm at a point where I have to see, I got to see Dak Prescott be more careful with the football. You know, say what you want about the 49ers starting their number 3 quarterback in Brock Purdy. That they've had to go to that depth, that deep on their depth chart because of injuries to Trey Lance and now Jimmy Garoppolo. But there's still people that think the 49ers can win the Super Bowl. Yes, because of that defense, but also because Brock Purdy takes care of the football. And I've said this all along, with a defense as good as the Cowboys have, you don't have to go gangbusters scoring points. It doesn't have to be a Monet on offense. You know, it could just be a rough sketch. That'll work. So we'll see what happens, come the postseason. Because that's what Dak Prescott, there are certain guys right now that it's all about what you do in the postseason for me. Tua would be one. Dak Prescott would be one. Lamar Jackson would be another. Deshaun Watson, if and when he gets back there with the Browns. There's just certain guys in the league that what's missing is that postseason resume. That's what they're going to be judged on, plain and simple. All this other, regular season stuff, it's nice for people like me who have money on the game or a fantasy person. All that stuff's great. But as far as football analysts are concerned, people who cover the games and don't care a bit about the gambling aspect, Hall of Fame voters, things like that, to them, it's all about what Dak does in the postseason. That's it. Stick around. We're talking college football with Bill Bender of the Sporting News on the other side. Lots more to do on the Cash In on this Thursday on SportsMap Radio. Did you forget to give me a time cue? You didn't give me a time cue. You just played the music. I'm used to getting a 20 and a 10. I didn't get nothing. You're talking to somebody in Mars. Hey, 20 seconds. 10. What button were you pushing? You were pushing a talk back for somebody else? Nope, not a thing. I just heard the music going up, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm done. Yeah. That's 30 years. Movies. No. I have never seen the movie Avatar. I know. Yeah, no, it's not. Glad to have you along for the ride on this Thursday edition of the show. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. I know. Look, continue with the conversation
used to
on
watch
the phones
the
in a bit at
Kardashians. I didn't watch that.
800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You can
Just
always
because something's popular doesn't mean it appeals
the
to
back
everybody.
page. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. All right, let's talk some college football. Bowl season is in full swing, and it's been an I have to say, it's
my husband always gives me
typically get
shit
into
because
any of these. I've actually done.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely am.
I've tried. I will say, being married to somebody who comes from a completely different culture will help to break you of some of that, because I'm forced to be exposed to different things. Like forever, I would never watch anything with subtitles. Hated anything with subtitles. But he watches so much Japanese or Korean stuff because he's from Asia. You know, he's Chinese from Singapore, but it forces me sometimes to get outside of my comfort zone and watch things I won't typically watch. No, because it's not on his either. Nice try. Glad to have you along for the ride on this Thursday edition of the show. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. We'll continue with the conversation on the phones in a bit at 800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You can always tweet at the show. At the back page. Again, on Twitter. At the back page. All right. Let's talk some college football. Bowl season is in full swing, and it's been an I have to say, again, I don't typically get into any of these lower echelon bowl games. You know, the whatever it's called, .com bowl. But I have to say, I've been into it a bit more this year because I got into one of these college football pools, and you got to pick every game and all that stuff. Who the hell knows who half of these teams asking me to pick a game with Buffalo in it, crying out loud. But I've actually done pretty well. But the big games are coming up this weekend, obviously. Michigan and TCU, Ohio State, and Georgia. And to break those games down and everything going on in college football, we bring in our good friend, Bill Bender, who does a terrific job. College football writer over at the Sporting News. Bill, first of all, happy holidays to you, my friend. This long wait for these playoff games is almost here. This interminable wait for these college football playoff games is almost here.
Yeah, and written everything broken down every way we can. Like you said, I'm doing the bull. I'm doing against the spread a little better, straight up. Hurt here on the game, but that's all right. If I go over 500 on Bulls, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and who's got the time? For you, it's probably a little easier than most. I'm doing it against the spread, and it's a real challenge, man. It is not easy. Texas is doing any of us any favors for those of us that picked Texas as I did as well. At the end of all the talk and breakdown, and we'll go through both of these games. Start with obviously Michigan and TCU. Analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, as they always say. When you look at something for so long, it's easy to almost kind of fool yourself from what your initial opinion might be. Have you vacillated at all on who you think wins this game and kind of where's your head at on it?
Yeah, the first one, Michigan. Just at first glance, the line hasn't moved much. When that happens, that hook. I mean, they're daring Michigan. And For me, I'm a guy that's followed the Big Ten my whole life, Michigan and Ohio State in particular. So you kind of trick yourself into thinking, okay. I mean, on paper, Michigan should win. Michigan overpower TCU in the second half. But to me, I looked at the Maryland game, and that was the one team that gave me a little bit of a fit in the first half. TCU has some comparable pieces that are better. So to me, it's like if TCU hits passes early and Michigan can't figure it out or adjust, that would be the formula to win, especially with Max Duggan, playmaker with his feet.
Blake Corum's absence and being out as long as he has now, you would think the team has had time to adjust. Donovan Edwards is obviously very talented. Do you think that is a non-issue at this point when you look at this matchup?
Yeah, you can't. Well, I look at it both ways. One, Blake Corum was playing, yes, be a better team. He's an outstanding running back, 1,400 yards. But I think the injury. J.J. McCarthy to step up, and he did in those last two games. Donovan Edwards, there's a guy, in the big game, Penn State, Ohio State, Purdue. He was awesome. He averaged about 180 yards in those games. So the big plays have been Michigan for Michigan. If those continue, I mean, I look at this team that'll use the experience from last year and keep it rolling.
You never know how many opportunities like this you're going to get if you're a school like TCU. You're always up against it in terms of some of the bigger powerhouse schools in the country. It was just a nail biter for them to get in after losing to Kansas State, and the pressure that comes with being a school that doesn't have the sort of respect that a lot of those other schools have. That being said, is there a playing with house money mentality here for this TCU team? You watch the way they played games this year. I remember that game against God, what was it, Purdue, where they ran the field goal unit out there, ran an extra play, and they're literally running this fire drill out there to get the field goal unit on to kick the game winner, which they wound up making at that time to stay undefeated. Is that sort of mentality part of the personality of this team, even as they go into this kind of game?
Well, I mean, that was huge. The way that they won that game, they lived on the edge some. And been in a lot of games. Michigan hasn't been in a ton of close games, though I would argue. Ohio State still a tight game in the fourth quarter. They obviously the Illinois game. So if it's a fourth-quarter game, you ought to be comfortable in that spot. They've been there, done that. And the one thing I worry about them, they gave them their balance, their physical offensive line, and if they thought Kansas State on both sides. Man, Michigan up front, especially on offense, with that Joe Moore winning offensive line. I mean, you know what they're going to do. And if Michigan gets ahead, you know what they're going to do, right? They're going to play conservative, try to lead the clock, and get themselves to LA. So it is a challenge for TCU. And on their roster, right? They don't have one five-star guy. Everybody else has more talent, and that's something that they're going to have to be creative to get around.
Yeah, at the same time, the one thing I'll throw back at you when they talk about these five-star guys. How many times does somebody get rated as from a recruiting standpoint? Somebody garners a 5-star rating, 4-star rating, whatever it may be. There's so many guys that just don't get the respect, though, and don't get the same looks. So sometimes I look at the difference between how many 5-star guys does this team have versus how many 4-star guys does the opposing team have. Sometimes I feel like especially when you get to a one-game situation, and these teams being as battle-tested as they are, sometimes I think that gets a little too much play. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, in a game like that, now conversation to Georgia, Ohio State, I think it's because both of those teams have NFL Robins, right? They have so much talent that you can't say. I mean, that's one thing about that game. About Ohio State isn't. There's not a talent division from Georgia. I mean, from TCU standpoint, that's a great point because that shows that Sonny Dykes developed some of those guys. Nobody's looking at Quentin Johnson and being like, well, what's his star rating? No, you're looking at a beast receiver that can get down the field and make some plays with his speed. That's one matchup in that game I'm looking forward to is Johnson. How much does he line up against Will Michigan's long corner? Follow Michigan football. That standard's always Charles Woodson, but whenever they have a pretty good corner out there, they get a lot of attention.
Sometimes I even think I'm just thinking more about this whole conversation about talented teams and great players and just watching the NFL. Here's this guy Joshua Dobbs, who's been a journeyman in the league for however many years. He's out there tonight with a mash unit around him and playing against the Cowboys. Who've got some pretty good defensive players and put pressure on them all night. These guys still make the throws. I think of Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. So I always kind of just find myself laughing at the ideas of what guys are recruited as, or the labels we put on guys as 5-star, 4-star, and all that. Because sometimes at the end of the day, it's opportunity. It's who's looking. It's who's watching on a particular day when you're being scouted and checked out. And it just feels like sometimes we get so hung up on these things. And I get, that's ultimately how these guys wind up at whatever school they wind up at. But you just wonder how many diamonds sort of slip through the cracks. How many great players slip through the cracks because the wrong person is watching on the wrong day.
Oh, it's totally fair. And even on the look, I think one of the things that Jim Harbaugh doesn't get enough credit for is you're talking about his roster. There's one of 5-star guys on. JJ McCarthy, and that's one thing that I think that I do this playoff. I do look at this, and you might call me crazy here in a second, but McCarthy is a quarterback. Recruited one, the only 5-star one. And if we fast forward, you were just talking about Dobbs. If I had to take one of these four guys in the NFL, I'm probably going to pick JJ McCarthy.
Really?
First-year starter. I would. I think if you look at him as a first-year starter and what he's done, and playing in a system that's kind of like the NFL. Talent's there. I think Stetson Bennett could have a deep career. I'm not talking down about CJ Stroud. He's obviously going to be hyped. But I had to take one in the NFL over the next 10 years. I'd probably take JJ McCarthy.
All right, Charles, save that tape. Charles Carter's our producer, engineer. Our producer, engineer, working the show tonight in Houston for me while I'm out here in California. You save that tape, Charles, because one day, years from now, we're going to have Bill Bender on the show. He'll have a few more gray hairs by then. We're going to have to ask him about how this prognostication worked out. All right, Georgia and Ohio State, we talked about it a little bit. Make the argument for Ohio State.
First quarter. They got to get the psychology of the game out. Now they're there. There's new life. I think if they take what LSU did in the second half, granted LSU was down 35-10, and they create some mismatches in the secondary and get Stroud time. Marvin Harrison can work. That's what I'm talking about. Talent. Marvin Harrison, Mecca Egbuka, William Fleming, all of those. They didn't have Jack, but they had him on top of it. All of those guys are playing on Sunday. So they can get some matchups on the perimeter, get off to a good start, make it a game like Alabama. One of the things that Ryan Day said that stood out to me today was giving us a chance to win. Ohio State's a dangerous underdog. They've always been a dangerous underdog. 6-2 straight up in the playoff era in that situation. So again, Georgia's talent isn't whelming them, but it's still a long checklist the Buckeyes have if they're going to win that game.
In the end, you pick Ohio State. In the end, you pick Georgia, though, right?
I do, and I think on the other side, the defense has to hold up. I just don't know how Georgia. Go back to the Tennessee game. Georgia won that game. They won. I think it was 27-30 to 14 or something. And it felt like they won 50 to nothing because they're content to run the ball and throw the ball as tight ends. And it doesn't have to be a huge win on the scoreboard. If they get out of that game, and we look at it, Sunday morning, 28-13, it feels like 45-10. Georgia's content with that. So I have 33 to 28. And I had 34-23 Michigan. The rematch in LA between those two from us.
I got time for one more. Just overall this bowl season, what we've seen. Any one overarching theme that stuck out to you?
I tell this people all the time. Bulls mean something different to everybody. Whether it was watching Frank Gore from 300 yards, whether it was watching Wild Liberty Bowl last night. I mean, I'm going to say I'm going to the end of this Texas game. The opt-out, the NIL, all of those things are kind of tearing at college football a little bit. When you get to the game, it's still fun. And I still enjoy it. My alma mater will play tomorrow. I'm going to root for the Ohio Bobcats against Wyoming. And like I said, it just means a little bit to everybody. And I don't know what the 12 team class will do to it, but we'll see.
Great stuff from Bill Bender, college football writer over at the Sporting News. Bill, have yourself a happy New Year. Enjoy the games this weekend. I'm sure I'll drop you a text message when something crazy happens. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks so much for having me. Happy New Year.
Same to you, my friend. We'll come back and wrap up the hour next. Glad to have you along for the ride on this Thursday edition of the show. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. We'll continue with the conversation on the phones in a bit at 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can always tweet at the show. Not the whole hour, just those segments that I told you. Yeah, nothing from this hour. It's all good. You don't have to worry about telling me when we're coming back. That's not something I'm not like these other guys. I don't need any of that shit. No, I get it. As long as you hit the right buttons, you're fine. It's funny you remembered that, though. Getting set to say goodbye for 2022. Can you believe it? It's crazy. Cannot believe the end of the year is here. Before we go, another shocking upset in college basketball tonight. There's been so many of these, and another one took place tonight. Central Michigan goes on the road in Ann Arbor as a 21.5-point underdog, and they beat Michigan. They were a 21.5-point dog. There's been 7 underdogs this year in college basketball that were 20-point underdogs or more that have won. Maine, 20.5 points, won against Boston College. Northwestern State, which I didn't even know existed, 21.5 point dogs against TCU. Central Michigan tonight. Southeast Louisiana, isn't that what Adam Sandler's team was? They were the I don't know. I thought they were. Anyway, Southeast Louisiana was a 22-point underdog against Wyoming. North Alabama was a 22.5 point underdog against Ole Miss. And Eastern Illinois, the biggest one, just, about a week ago, against Eastern Illinois. Eastern Illinois against Iowa, they were 31.5 point underdog. I mean, that's insane. It's all, I mean, I hate to say, I called this 12 years ago. I was interviewing Jay Billis, and he tried to laugh me off my own show. And it's something I've never forgotten to this day. Jay Billis, who thinks he's one of these, I'm the smartest guy in the room because I have a law degree. And the reality is he's no smarter than any other college basketball analyst I've ever heard. But anyway, Billis came on my show, and I told him that the age of parity was coming to college basketball, that it wasn't just going to be the blue bloods anymore. And this was back when George Mason beat UConn and went to a Final Four, I think. And he was like, no, it's always going to be this way. Telling me how wrong I was on my own show. Clown. And the reality is, my theory was the proliferation of basketball around the country and the world meant there were just going to be more great players, and not every school can have them. Anyway, have a happy new year. I'll see you back here in 2023. I'm Jason Page. Bye. It's a sucky time to have to tell that story. Damn it. Listen, thank you for your help tonight. You did a good job. You did not suck. Have a happy new year, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Have a good one. All right. Bye-bye. All right. That is it. We are done for 2022. Wow. Thank you to everybody who watched for the last September, October, November, December, 4 months. I've appreciated it. We are done for 2022, excuse me. We'll be back on Monday when it is 2023. Enjoy the football this weekend. Don't forget, playfortickets.com if you want to go and try and win your shot at the going to the Super Bowl. It's pretty cool. Go and check that out. Playfortickets.com. Totally free to play. Go and make your picks there. It's pretty cool. I'm going to go and rest up for a few days, and I'll be back here getting you ready for the playoffs in the NFL. Well, final week of the regular season. And then the playoffs in the NFL. Call a friend. Say something nice to them. They might need to hear from you. I'm Jason Page. I'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great night. Bye.